What movie fucked you straight in your feelings? Fox and the Hound. We'll always be friends forever, won't we? Yeah, forever. How they echo the dialogue from when they were kids at the very end of the movie after they've grown up and succumbed to their ways as natural enemies. Fuck, that was heartbreaking. The Iron Giant, you stay, I go. I don't want to be a gun. Good Will Hunting. Deals with a lot of issues that many people have, and always hits hard. It's not your fault. That movie gets me more nowadays, because Robin Williams was so memorable in it. I got to go see About a Girl. Big Hero 6. My older cousin passed away a couple months before and I lost it cause I felt like the younger brother. My sister protected me through childhood and now is a terrible addict. This is such a good movie but it always makes me ugly cry. Super underrated movie. I watched this on the plane back from Ireland on my iPad. Sitting next to my mother, who grills you at the slightest show of emotion. Are you satisfied with my care? Keeping it together and not sobbing on a plane that was watching the in-flight movie was hard. The Land Before Time always got me when I was young. Fuck Sharktooth. The thought of my parents dying never really crossed my mind until I saw it. Really scarring but also a good wake-up call for younger kids to appreciate and cherish what they have right now. But at the same time, WTF. That shit was a little too heavy for a 3-year-old. The Never-Ending Story. They look like such strong hands. Don't they? Kids movie, my ass. That scene with the horse. The Iron Giant. Superman. As his eyes slowly close. The Iron Giant is a masterpiece. This was my son's favorite movie obsession when he was growing up. I have watched it no less than 100 times. Sometimes 2 or 3 times in one night. He's 22 now but it still has a big place in his heart. Even more in mine because not only is it a brilliant and emotional movie but because I feel it every time through my son's young eyes and remembered reactions and of all of our time together watching it together over the years. It's such a gift. I break down every time. You stay, I go. No following. Superman. And I'm crying. About Time, towards the end of the film always hits a little too deep. I think what got me is that I went in thinking it was just going to be a random nothing sort of movie. His dad's speech at the reception and then the last time he played ping pong with him, right in the fields. This is one of my favorites. I rarely watch it, though, because it cuts to the core of me. Beautiful film. SLC Punk. Bob, you fucking poser. When Matthew Lillard ugly cries, I ugly cry. Such a good movie. Wall-E. My toddler is developing empathy. When Eve was frantically pushing Wall-E's buttons, she turns to me with a quivering lip and says, "What's happening, Mama?" And that made me lose it. Good God, how could you ever keep it together? I saw this in the theater. A young girl is with her father and starts bawling, crying uncontrollably. She was so upset she refused to look at the screen. Meanwhile, her dad knows Wall-E is coming back to life. It's a movie, after all, so he's trying to encourage her to look but she won't do it. Wall-E comes back alive and she's still bawling. She won't look at the screen. Finally he gets her to look and she instantly stops and is just so confused that you can tell her soul is crawling under her skin. It was hilarious to watch. Big Fish. I can't not cry in those final scenes. So we went to see Big Fish in theaters, picture it 2003 in a dark theater. We get to the end where goodbyes are said and stories are told. My dad is holding my hand and I suddenly feel him shaking. My dad is sobbing and shaking because of the heartfelt goodbye that the son gives to his father. Why, you may ask? 7 years prior in 1996 my dad found my grandfather after he had completed suicide. My dad never got to say goodbye or tell him how much he loved him. Hold your loved ones close and check on those you know need it. For the men reading this, there is not shame in getting help for your mental health. It's never too late. Oh my God, when he's carrying his father. I ugly cry every time. Stand By Me. Stephen King stories always hit home for me. Brings me back to when I was a kid and everything was an adventure with your best friends forever. Turns out, forever isn't really that long. I wish there was a way to know that you're in the good old days before you've actually left the Mandy Bernard. This would be a rare answer, but that I'm still here montage from Treasure Planet really got to me. It was so depressing to see that Jim's father leave him as a kid and never got back, and was the main reason why Jim had been suffering from depression. Plus later in the movie, John Silver said something very touching to Jim after the serious journey they've been on: "You gonna rattle the stars, you are." Edit. Treasure Planet is indeed an underrated but amazing Disney film, and I just really wish more people could watch it so they could relate to Jim. I love this answer. Hit me hard when I watched it growing up cause my father was never around either. Still one of my favorite movies and favorite songs to this day. The parts where Silver says encouraging things to Jim always get me teary-eyed. I think I'll have to pop the old Treasure Planet DVD in tonight. Fox and the Hound. I'm 32, and I just watched it again with my son. It's still heartbreaking. I don't often cry when I watch movies, but Fox and the Hound, all I have to do is think about the scene where the old lady is dropping Todd off and his slow realization of what's happening, and I start bawling like a baby. Goodbye may seem forever. Farewell is like the end. But in my heart's the memory, and there you'll always be. 32 and still can't hear it without tears. John Wick. My wife died on Sept 3rd of that year. My dog had just gotten out of spinal surgery and wasn't walking, and might or might not. I didn't know it yet, but my car that I'd had for 15 years was going to die on me. I may have been the only person in a theater crying about his wife and his dog at a deep, raw level. Blue Valentine. For some reason that movie felt very real to me and I straight bawled my eyes out for the last 10 minutes. Watched it not knowing what it was about when my partner and I were in a really crappy place. Needless to say, that did not make it more comforting. Yeah. This one will really fuck you up if you've ever been in a codependent relationship that eroded over time. A Beautiful Mind. My grandpa was schizophrenic and I never understood it until I watched this movie. Dear Zachary. I saw this at a documentary film festival here in Toronto, and Zachary's grandparents were at the Q&A. I think I cried for a full day. It was intense. Hachiko, A Dog's Tale. I still haven't recovered. I choke up explaining the movie. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.